Welcome back to Winnie Isn't Easy. We're here with my special guest, Jill Brook, and I want to ask you, what are strategies for living well with POTS? So, first question would be, what are some of your favorite practical tips for healthy meals that work well with people with POTS?
Yeah, I think the number one and two things I'd say are figure out how you're going to get really quick, easy meals for when you don't have the energy to go to the grocery store or cook or things like that. So, one thing is to consider frozen options. I'm a big fan when you have time and you're actually feeling good, go spend like 20 minutes in the frozen aisle of your grocery store and just see what all of the choices are. Maybe buy one of a few different things, try them, because POTS patients are famous for having their flares come out of nowhere. Like we always have to cancel plans, we don't want to. And so canceling dinner plans, it goes along with that, right? Like, so the thinking is that, if a POTS patient has good energy long enough to go grocery shopping and then make a recipe and then eat and digest, that would kind of be a miracle, right? Like one of those things is going to go wrong. So having kind of emergency foods at the ready is a great thing. And that's something that you should, I think, work with a dietitian to talk about. And, a lot of times if you work with a dietitian and you just say, hi, I'm here to work with you, they will kind of have their agenda and their things that they go to. But if you come to them with, here's what I need meals for when I'm too tired to stand up. I need meals for when I need snacks at my bedstand for when I'm too tired to even get out of my bed. I need things to put in my, locker or my gym bag or my car. Think of all of the places where you're likely to maybe have a little bit of a potsy issue where maybe you are too dizzy or too tired or your blood sugar gets too low. Whatever your little danger zones are, maybe make a list of those and take them to that dietitian so that you can help figure out what they're going to be, and and then try to have the right foods in the right places so that you can anticipate where you're going to have a little bit of an issue. We on my podcast, I always ask a joke question, which is like, where's the funniest place you've ever had to sit down or lay down because of POTS? But it's not really that funny when it happens to you in a place where you're not prepared and you don't have some salt and fluids with you, because you really can get stuck somewhere. And so thinking ahead about that is really important. The other thing about frozen meals, besides just being quick, is that it can save a lot of money, because we know that like 30 to 40% of groceries go to waste because they just don't get used or cooked. And so, with somebody who's likely to have a lot of times when they're not feeling that great, it's a shame to just waste all that money. So frozen foods can be one way to do it. You might also try just Googling to see if in your area there is a company such as Imperfect Foods or Misfits Market or other ones where their kind of value proposition is that they deliver foods at a discount because those foods are just like cosmetically flawed. So, for example, you can get a lot of nice produce delivered to you every week at a discount because maybe the apples have spots on them, and so the grocery store didn't want them. And so basically anything that gets you groceries delivered can be a huge help, because I think patients know this, but for family members, the grocery store can be one of the toughest places for POTS patients, because not only is it a lot of standing up, but the lights. There's something about the lighting in those big box stores that can be almost like kryptonite to a lot of patients. And so if you can either find a service or a friend or something that makes you not have to go to the grocery store so often, that's a lot of extra energy potentially and upright mojo that you can spend on other things.
Well, as a parent, family dinners were very important to us, and that was something that we tried to maintain. And that certainly can be difficult with POTS patients. Do you have any suggestions as to how the family can make shared meals and make them easier and be more supportive of the parent with POTS?
Yeah. So I think this kind of is sort of their version of needing those emergency meals, because I know that every family with a POTS patient, and it also is probably, oftentimes busy or dealing with crises or challenges. And so, um, one of the things that's kind of shown to make just mealtime generally easier and healthier is getting into routines. And so, there's an inevitable trial and error period where you try to figure out what works for you. But once you find things that work for you, that everybody likes, that are nutritious enough and easy enough and in your budget, thinking in routines can really be helpful. And the way that routines get cemented faster is when you do the same thing in the same order at the same time in the same place every week. And that's when everything just gets on autopilot. Like we didn't think about how much work it was to get dressed and brush our teeth this morning because we have done it the same way, the same, so many times. So meals that are likely to get on that, they call them formulaic meals, so that you can maximize the variety of foods you eat, but minimize the different kind of stuff you have to do. So an example of a formulaic meal would be like a stir fry, where it's one vegetable plus one meat plus one sauce plus one grain. And you could eat stir fry every Monday to the end of time and not eat the exact same thing, but you're always using the same pan, the same utensils, the same behaviors, the same, right? So that's kind of what the experts would say if you want to kind of get it to a place where you're minimizing the amount of effort. Other examples of formulaic meals would be things like soups or stews or salads or sandwiches or sheet pan bakes, where every night, same thing, you just pick a different food from each category, but do your same old routine. And before long, you're ideally just doing it without even thinking.
Cool. So what's one thing you wish everyone understood about living with POTS? Not only from, like your journey where no one really knew what you had and everyone tried to convince you that you really weren't sick. And now you have a disease that's recognized as being real. So in your journey, can you tell us what's the one thing you wish every person understood living with POTS?
That it affects the whole body. And there's a lot of complex pieces to it that just mean that the average POTS patient has a lot going on, and they probably have more going on than they're letting on. And that they're probably doing their best, and they don't mean to cancel plans, and they don't mean to be difficult. But it is a complex, multi-systemic disease that has a lot of pieces to it.
Can you tell us about your podcast and what it offers to the POTS community?
Sure. My podcast is the POTScast, and we are the podcast of the nonprofit Standing Up to POTS. We raise money for POTS research. And our podcast is once a week. We have several different kinds of episodes. We have the patient diaries episodes where we interview patients about their experiences. We have the POTS practitioners episodes where we interview doctors and other practitioners who treat patients. We have the POTS Matters series, which is other professionals like you who come and talk to us about other important things about living with POTS. And then we also have mast cell matters, because so many of the patients also have mast cell activation syndrome, that we bring in experts, and that is guest hosted by Dr. Tanya Dempsey, one of the world's very top mast cell experts. So we're proud to just try to bring the best, latest, greatest information for patients.
Well, that's really cool, because I tried a Social Security case this week with POTS, Ehlers-Danlos, and mast cell. And one of the first questions out of the judge's mouth was, well, Ms. Cavey, where's the lab work? Where's the biopsy? And it's like, okay. It's like, all right. So, and off we went. We won the case because it was a positive tilt table test, but the judge was not so much impressed with the mast cell diagnosis. So I feel like we're on the same journey with mast cell as we were back with fibromyalgia and then COVID and then, POTS. So for those people who have mast cell syndrome, there is someone like Jill who has, been on a journey that's probably very similar to what it is you're going through. Anything else you'd like our audience to know about your journey, POTS nutrition, that you think would make a difference today in their lives?
I would say just that it's not rare. You probably know more people with it than you think. And if you want to learn any more information, standinguptopots.org is a huge website built by experts and people as a big labor of love that has basically every bit of helpful information that we can think to add. And we're hoping to add your information to it as well, so that that will be there too, because I think the one thing that was missing from it was the information on the disability benefits.
Well, thank you. And I wanted to thank everybody who has shared their POTS journey with me, allowing me to represent them, and people like you who provide such great information and support to the POTS community. So that's a wrap for today's episode. If you found this episode helpful, please take a moment to like the episode, give us a shout out, and of course, subscribe to the website. We look forward to talking with you next week in our next episode of Winning Isn't Easy. Thanks.